Shabbat Shalom. In this week's parsha, Parshat Vayetze, we journey with Jacob through his journeys from leaving Beersheba to Haran and then back again to the land of Israel. We journey with him as he works for the beloved Rachel for 7 years, and then another 7 years after he's cheated, and then another 6 years in which he works as a shepherd, all up 20 long years. And then we find that throughout this process, Lavan is constantly changing his mind. Whatever Jacob asks from him, he obviously agrees to, and then when it comes time to pay, suddenly Jacob finds that he's been cheated and robbed once more. And this continues for the full 20 years. Eventually, Jacob has enough. God appears before him in a vision and says, time to return back to the land of Israel. You have a responsibility to be the third father of Klal Yisrael and build the Bnei Yisrael. That the children have been born, 11 children, 11 sons and 1 daughter at this particular junction. And Jacob gets back to the land of Israel. And at the end of the parasha, we have an interesting and fascinating story. Lavan finds out that Jacob and his family have snuck off during the night and headed back to the land of Israel. He chases after them. Of course, the intention obviously is not to say goodbye or to hug his grandchildren. That's just an excuse. He wants Jacob back, and he's willing to kill him if that was what he can do to prevent Jacob from leaving him. And then a strange thing happens, unheard of. God appears to Lavan in a dream and says to him, do not touch this guy. He is holy, he is special. So Lavan, when he wakes up in the morning, he still goes to Jacob and he says, I really wanted to hurt you. But God stopped me. I can't do it. So therefore, let me hug the children. Let's make a peace deal and let us move on. But never come back again. Here's something fascinating. Here was a man called Lavan who had the greatest gift in having a son-in-law like Yaakov, who gave him wealth, who gave him children, who gave grandchildren, was a loving husband. Everything he needed, he wanted, he had with Jacob. And yet when it came to his treatment of Jacob, he was so vindictive and such a charlatan, and lying and thieving and conniving and doing everything he could to undermine Jacob, that eventually Jacob said, enough is enough, and I'm out of here. Lavan never saw any of these failings within himself. Either he was too blind, too stubborn, too full of himself, too full of ego, to realize the gift that he had, the gift of Yaakov. At the beginning of the parasha, the Torah says, Vayetze Yaakov. Yaakov left Beersheba, Vayelech Harana, and he walked towards Haran. And the question that Rashi poses is, why do we need to know that? Well, of course we know where Jacob left from. He left from Beersheba. And he makes the following comment. He says, when a tzaddik leaves the place, Yatsa Hadra, the honor and the glory of the place is diminished with his departure. With Yaakov leaving Lavan, or living with Lavan, Lavan didn't appreciate who Yaakov was or what he had in his possession or who he was, who had married into his family, who was looking after, he's raising his children. And even after Yaakov leaves, with a sour taste in his mouth of having to work day and night for 20 years for Lavan, without complaint, Lavan complains about Jacob having cheated and lied to him. And even with God appearing to him and saying to him, what you have done to Yaakov is unacceptable, Lavan still doesn't understand or appreciate what he has done wrong. And this is the key to our parasha. That and there are 2 important lessons over here. Number 1, that you can have a situation where you can have people working for you and you just do not appreciate what they are bringing and what they are contributing because you're too full of yourself and too blind to see. And on the other hand, one can get caught up in work, in business, in relationships, which are themselves toxic, but you don't realize the danger of them. In the visions that we have in the parasha, it starts with Yaakov seeing a ladder, angels going up and down, God saying to him, you are going to be the father of a great nation. And then the second vision we have, Jacob telling Rachel and Leah, I had a vision of sheep jumping up and down. Jacob completely loses himself while being in the land of Lavan. He's seduced by Lavan, and he almost loses the entire purpose of his life, his mission to build the Jewish people. So when we are involved in our relationships, whether it's business, personal, family, friendships, we have to ask ourselves 2 questions. Number 1, is this relationship something positive for me? Am I growing from this experience, or am I being corrupted by it? And number 2, we should always appreciate those who are working for us and who are there who benefit us and make us look good. Appreciate them, because they can always do a Yaakov, turn around and walk away if they're not feeling that they are appreciated. Much to think about. Shabbat Shalom.